In today's video, we're going to take a look at the new Tab M10 HD, and this is the second generation. It's got a 10.1 inch HD display with 1280 by 800 resolution, even though it is called HD. Technically, it is only 720p resolution. MediaTek P22T processor, Bluetooth 5.0. It's got a 5,100 milliamp hour battery. They are advertising up to 10 hours web browsing or 8 hours of video playback, and it also has dual speakers with Dolby Atmos. Now the version I have here is 4 gigabytes of RAM with 64 gigabytes of storage. It is $40 more at $169. I think the only difference between this one and the cheaper version only has 32 gigabytes of storage and 2 gigabytes of RAM, but the cheaper one is $130 in the United States. But I'll leave a link in the description below with current pricing and more information. Oh boy. Nice and lightweight, that's good to see. USB-C charging cable. They do include the USB charging brick, micro SD card tool, and of course your safety, warranty, and quick start guide. Pretty slim bezels here on the sides. There on the right hand side is your power button, volume rocker. It also looks like you've got 2 microphones and then your micro SD card tray. Opposite side or the bottom, you've got your pogo pins for a keyboard. This one does have a headphone jack and the speakers are on both sides, so that's always nice to see, with the charging port there on the bottom. It's got a nice metal looking finish to it. Camera there up in the corner on the back. Now when setting up, you're not going to get a fingerprint scanner, but you do get face recognition, pattern, pin, or password. You can also choose what navigation style you want, gesture, 2-button navigation, or 3-button. Looks like it's using about 16% of storage so far. And you can definitely tell this is only a 720p resolution screen, especially up close on text, or even on here where it says Android 10. You can see it's a little jagged around the 0. I don't think it's going to be a big issue when watching movies or videos. I think just when you're browsing online or if you're reading, then yeah, you're probably going to notice the text isn't quite as clear as it would be on a 1080p display. What I do like about Lenovo tablets is the software is pretty much stock Android. Swiping over to the left, you're going to get the Google News feed. Swipe up to access all your apps. And they also don't put a lot of bloatware on here. You've got mostly Google apps. It's also got the Google Kids space, which is probably a good idea, especially if you're going to give this to one of your kids. Most of your typical shortcuts up in the notification shade, such as auto brightness, auto rotate, Dolby Atmos. They've also got eye protection mode, dark theme, screenshot, screen recorder. You've also got a focus mode, airplane mode, battery saver, data saver, and screencast. Now size-wise, this is almost identical to the Lenovo Tab M10 Full HD Plus. Especially on the back, you would think these are the same exact tablets, but the Plus version is just a hair taller and a hair wider. Obviously on YouTube, you're only going to get 720p resolution. Same thing on Netflix, you're only going to get SD quality. Here's a quick sound test just so you can see what the speakers sound like. So I can't believe it, but I just got an Xbox Series X. I actually beat the bots. Oh yeah. I think it was about a week ago when I watched the Jake Randall live stream. If you're not familiar with him, he does a lot of live streams here lately, trying to help people get an Xbox or PS5. I took his advice and failed and failed and failed. And then I thought, you know what, I'll try one more time. And then I failed. I don't know if you can tell from that small clip, but yeah, these actually sound really good. Nice and loud, doesn't sound distorted when turned all the way up. So as far as overall loudness on these speakers, I like it. Let's take a quick look at the camera. Surprisingly, this has a pretty fast shutter speed on it. It even has decent detail in ideal lighting conditions, of course. I really expected the cameras to be worse than this, really. But in the camera app, it's going to be very similar to other Lenovo products. You can switch to your front-facing camera, choose between filters, or you can change various settings within the camera app. Quality is 8 megapixel on the rear-facing camera, 5 megapixels on the front, and it does shoot 1080p resolution for video, so at least you're not limited to just 720p. Here's a few samples of photos and video, just to give you an idea of what to expect. So as you can see from these samples, this definitely isn't the best tablet out there, but just keep in mind this is an entry-level tablet at just over $100 for the cheapest version. And to be honest, I really wasn't expecting much from this tablet at such a cheap price point. But surprisingly, I think it's actually pretty decent for what you're paying. Unfortunately, this didn't really perform that well when gaming, especially when trying to play Asphalt 9. For whatever reason, the game just kept closing or crashing pretty much every time I tried to race, and that's not really a good sign. It also struggled a little bit with Call of Duty Mobile, and the frame rate seemed a little choppy when lots of people were in a small area. But then again, hey, at least it played. But having said that, it's still actually playable. Just keep in mind, this isn't going to be the best tablet for gaming. But then when it comes to PUBG Mobile, even with the lowest settings for graphics, I think it actually played just fine. Sure, it takes a little bit longer for things to load, and the details aren't going to look quite as good as on more expensive tablets. But hey, this is a fairly cheap tablet, and I thought it performed fine for what this tablet is. Now, I'm not gonna say this is my favorite tablet out of everything that Lenovo makes, but I think if you're wanting something cheap and you don't really like the Fire HD tablets, I think this could be an option. I'll be able to tell you more once I compare this to some of my other tablets, but just some things to keep in mind. This is one of their cheapest tablets. It only has a 720p resolution screen, so I think this is fine if you're gonna buy this for kids, or if you're just gonna use this for watching videos on YouTube, or maybe some Netflix here and there. But if you're expecting this to compare to something like an entry-level iPad, you're definitely gonna have to pay a little bit more and look at some of the other tablets out there. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may wanna say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.